how can the information we have, not about ourselves, but about our counterpart, influence our behavior in negotiation? Researchers somehow diverge on how information affects behaviors. For some authors, information is considered as a force, a strength. According to them, the information we possess about our counterpart enables us to gain more during negotiations. At the opposite extreme, other authors argue that the information we have about our counterpart may weaken our position. According to the latter, information just reduces rather than increases our gains during negotiation. How can we reconcile these two perspectives? Let us start with information as a strength. For authors such as Lee Thompson and Reed Hastie, having information about our negotiating partner allows us to counteract the zero-sum bias. That is the tendency to believe that in negotiation, the gain we make is necessarily at the expense of the other party. For these authors, when we receive information on our opponent's preferences, on what he is trying to achieve through negotiation, we are able to come up with solutions that are more creative and that meet both our interests and those of the counterpart. Information in this case is used to develop integrative behaviors that increase the cumulative gain of both parties in the negotiation. Be careful, however, not any type of information enables us to increase the cumulative gain. For information to be really effective, it must relate to the preferential position of the other party as regarding each issue, but also to his or her priorities across the various issues at stake. For example, imagine you are discussing the design of an object and you have two issues to discuss: the color of the object and the shape of the object. You need to know the other person's preferences for the color and the shape of the object. But you also need to know which of these two issues, color or shape, is more important to him or her. If your counterpart is more interested in the shape of the object, while you believe color is a priority, you can then satisfy your counterpart's preferences on shape if he or she concedes to let you choose the color. Such a strategy that increases the party's satisfaction and gain is called log rolling, and we will detail this later on. Importantly, information can be a strength if and only if it is not too overwhelming. As we will see later on, too much information kills information, because human beings have only a limited capacity to process information. If they are overwhelmed by too much information, they are no longer able to analyze it effectively. Besides authors who consider information as a strength, other researchers highlight the fact that having information about the other party may weaken a negotiator's position. For example, studies have shown that when we are aware of the aspirations and limits of our counterpart, we tend to take this information into account and to make lower demands, act less aggressively, and ultimately result in outcomes that are less favorable than if we had not had this information. Two explanations have been proposed to account for this decrease in negotiators' gain when they are in possession of information about the other party. Firstly, when information is obtained from the counterpart, the social rules of fairness and equity are activated, which will lead negotiators to prefer a more egalitarian distribution of resources, thus producing a reduction in personal gain. Secondly, when the position and aspirations of the counterpart are known, they act as new anchors in the negotiation. These new anchors, which by definition push negotiators in the direction of their counterpart, bring negotiators closer to their limits, since these limits, in fact, correspond to the aspiration of their counterpart. Information can therefore act both as a strength and as a weakness. However, these two streams of research contradict one another less than one might think. Indeed, a closer look at this research shows that a proponent of information as a strength have been interested in the analysis of cumulative gains in integrative rather than distributive situations. In contrast, the proponent of information as a weakness have mainly sought to evaluate negotiators' personal gain and have focused their analysis mainly on the most competitive and distributive contexts. Moreover, authors espousing these perspectives have not focused on the same type of information that is being transmitted. The proponent of information as a strength have mainly looked at the transfer of information about the preferences and the needs of the parties, whereas the proponent of information as a weakness have analyzed the impact of information about the positions and aspirations of the parties. To sum up, information will be a strength in cooperative contexts where we have access to qualitative information about the preferences of our counterpart, and where what matters in the end is the cumulative result. And information will be seen as a weakness in distributive and competitive contexts when the information we get access to is about position and aspiration of the counterpart, and when the ultimate goal is to increase personal rather than mutual gain.